Hey, it's Dr. Dale with 5 signs that you may be experiencing complicated grief after the death of a loved one. So, we all have, normal grief where we're feeling sad, anger, depressed. We get in that bargaining stage. But as time passes, some of that eases up. And I always say grief doesn't go away, but complicated grief is where you stay at that heightened feeling of grief all the time, just as if they just passed away and you just struggle with, you know, kind of functioning in life. And that's where it becomes complicated. It's almost debilitating. And that leads me to number one. You struggle with carrying on your regular routines. It's just like you can't take yourself back to work. You can't get back into the routine of socializing or going to church or doing those things. And that leads me to number two is that you believe you did something wrong or that you could have prevented their death. And so you're so hyper focused on that your grief is just lingering and lingering. And I'm going to keep saying this, grief doesn't go away. It just becomes durable. But complicated grief is where it is so heightened that you can't function. And that leads me to number three. You wish you had died with them and sometimes we all feel that initially, but as time goes, that eases. But people with complicated grief, that's a kind of remaining thought. And that leads me to number four. You feel like life isn't worth living. Again, that's complicated grief, and it's lingering. That thought is lingering. And that leads me to number five. You're focused on little else but your loved one's death. That's the only thing that you're focused on all the time. So this is kind of complicated grief. Normal grief, there is no time period. Grief doesn't end. I want to keep saying that. But as the years roll by, as time rolls by, it becomes a little more doable, but you still get triggered and all this stuff. But people with complicated grief, I think they're dealing with a lot of trauma. Maybe the person died all of a sudden, or maybe, again, like I said earlier, that the person feels like they could have helped prevent that person's death. See, that's trauma because maybe something happened and you wasn't expecting the person to die. So if you're struggling with complicated grief, please seek a therapist so they can help you maneuver through your grieving process. Praying for everybody who has lost anybody.